Hey everybody, it's your friend Adam. I am going to try something new here. I am going to listen to a video by Mr. Atheist, and I'm going to respond. I have to admit that the most difficult part about getting through this video is going to be listening to it at normal speed. So you guys can speed up both my audio and his audio. So the reason I was going to take a look at this is, one, I want to try something new. I want to see about doing response videos, maybe on my own without my partner in crime, Sitch. You know, if I ever want to get past this whole sidekick thing, I really need to branch out on my own. So, and I'm not going to lie, this video, well, it triggered me a little bit. It really did. I myself am an atheist. Many of you know this, but the people who call themselves atheists, it's getting weird here. I almost don't want to call myself an atheist anymore. This guy calls himself Mr. Atheist, and this video seems to just deny logic, reason, evidence, all the things that I tend to get behind, evolution, all of those things. I mean, if you embrace your principles, if you realize that evolution, logic, evidence, reason are important aspects of understanding religion and religious people, then the world makes complete sense. But if you embrace this idea that religious people are terrible people, it's just basically common enemy identity politics. If you're looking at religious people as though they're the enemy, your bias is you're never going to figure this stuff out. You're never going to be able to understand religion or religious people from a scientific perspective. So when you're standing under the banner of science, it irks me. It rubs me the wrong way. I don't get it. Religious people use logic and reason and evidence. You're straw manning them when you're saying that you're not. And there's very logical reasons. There's very evidence-based reasons. There's very rational reasons why regular people, why theists, why unevangelical atheists like myself, where the anti-theists have a huge problem with religious people. A lot of non-religious people don't have a problem with religious people. I know a lot of them. So let's get into the video, and I will pause it when I want to make a point. So,
dear Mr. Atheist, stop complaining. It's not like atheists are actually oppressed. Now, for the record, this episode isn't going to be the oppression Olympics. I'm not a religious person. I don't need to figure out all the ways in which I'm oppressed. But I
see right there. He begins with the punching right away. He's like, I'm not a religious person, so therefore I don't have to talk about how I'm completely oppressed. But then he's going to go on and talk about how he's completely oppressed. It's the irony here. Irony is like caviar for the mind, okay? So if you didn't catch that, fellow religious people, to my religious listeners, if you didn't catch that, he's saying that you only talk about how you're oppressed. You are competing in some kind of oppression Olympics. Now, I don't necessarily see it. It seems like mostly conservatives are the religious folk, and they're the ones that are complaining about the oppression Olympics. So
I do want to talk about some important things and some important misgivings about atheists and politics. Welcome back to Dear Mr. Atheist.
He wants to talk about, we're all misunderstanding atheists. I published a video on my channel. It might have been the video before last, where I pulled an excerpt from Jonathan Haidt's book, The Righteous Mind, where he talks about, they did a study on liberals and conservatives, and atheists tend to be liberal. I think we can all agree on that. There are some conservative atheists, and you cannot believe in God and be on either side of the political spectrum, but leftists tend to be atheists. And because leftism has this component to it that's anti-authoritarian, they want to flatten hierarchies, and religion is the ultimate authority. So it's very logical, very rational why this comes into being. But so they, on their side of the political spectrum, they don't necessarily understand the other side of the political spectrum. And this excerpt that I uploaded from The Righteous Mind explains that. They actually did a test where they asked a bunch of questions as a survey thing. And out of those questions, they asked the people to respond as themselves, and they listed their political designation. So they're liberals. They're responding as liberals. And then they asked them to respond as the opposite side of the political spectrum. So you've got liberals responding as conservatives. You've got conservatives responding as liberals. And the beautiful thing about this test is they can look at the test afterwards, and they can see how actual conservatives responded, and they can see liberals trying to respond as conservatives. And the liberals had no idea what they were talking about. They didn't respond like the conservatives at all, which tells me they're a little bit in the bubble here. So it's very funny to me. That's probably the most interesting thing about these types of videos is this guy is so in the bubble. It's hilarious. Yes. The conservatives are the ones doing the conservative religious people, the bear your own cross people are the ones engaging in the oppression Olympics.
Let's get to it. Now, if you watch my show, especially my live streams, you know that I am very interested in politics. And to some degree, I think
This is another thing that's hilarious. He's interested in politics. He doesn't understand politics. He's not interested in learning about politics. He's interested in calling people names.
Might like to hold political office one day. Certainly, I often joke about running for president. That is a joke. Probably. But the fact of the matter is, there is still a major obstacle between me and holding political office, and that is that you commit political career suicide, especially at the federal level, the moment you say you are an atheist. And there's
see, that's not the only political obstacle to you running for office. The fact that you don't really understand how politics works, I'd say, is probably the biggest obstacle.
Some real things to talk about there. Now, I don't actually want to have a discussion about, am I oppressed? Even as a white atheist, I see my group of people being far less oppressed as, say, black theists are. But the fact of the matter is, I live in the United States, and I should be living in a democracy that is representative of its population. And right now, the non-religious, those people who say they are atheist or agnostic or just don't hold to a specific religion, that is the fastest growing group. And yet, there are...
See, we really need to separate these two groups out, because the non-religious are just not affiliated with a church. They don't go to church regularly. I've uploaded videos from different talks. Robert Putnam is the guy who has done various surveys on this. They say on the surveys that they believe in God. So just because they're non-affiliated doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't the same kind of believers that other people are. But the thing that I would like to separate out is the anti-theists, the people who are openly against religion, from the non-believers. Because then the anti-theists always want to claim the non-believers. They want to say they're in our ranks. And they try to bully people into being in their ranks. But I can't be that illogical to be in their ranks.
Virtually none of them in Congress. At present, there are 0 people in the House or in the Senate who openly admit to being an atheist. Now, granted, as of last year, there are people who claim to be humanists. However, they won't outright take on that label because that label has a lot of baggage, but it's not the kind of baggage it's earned. So when you say, for example...
Yes, the atheist label has a lot of baggage. But one of the reasons why I wanted to respond to this video was because the baggage that the atheist label has is very logical. It's very rational why atheists have this label. But none of that stuff comes up here. Despite the fact, religious people say all the time, and it's one of the things that they say when they debate atheists. They say, how are you good if you don't believe in God? What is your ethical, what is the authority driving your ethics? And atheists always say, evangelical atheists, I got to be careful here. I'm an atheist. So the anti-theists, they have to, they don't really have any binding authority guiding their principles. They don't even have any principles that are written down. You make up your own ethics in the anti-theist playbook. And that's just, people are not comfortable with that. And especially in a political context where you will have power over their lives, they're not comfortable giving power over themselves to someone that doesn't have, they don't feel, believes in a system where unless they're good, they're going to be punished or rewarded in the afterlife. That's logical. That makes sense. It makes complete sense. If someone is above the law, you don't want to give them political power.
Example, the label of Mormon, a label I've held before, has a lot of baggage. That's because of things Mormons have actually done. Instead, the baggage for atheists...
I don't know what Mormons have done, so let me know in the comments below if these terrible things that Mormons have done.
Atheist seems to be the things that religious people did, or religious states did, or religious kinds of minds did, projected onto atheists because they were such incredible evils that these people who hold to those same belief systems like to rewrite history to cover their ass. Yes, I'm referring to all of you wonderful gems of beings who often say, like, Hitler was an atheist. He wasn't. Back to...
Okay, so I don't know about... I think Hitler was a Christian, actually, so it doesn't necessarily mean that religious thinking can't go off the rails. That's neither here nor there. Stalin, I think, was a famous atheist. And the whole idea is that when you don't believe, you are going to be punished for the atrocities you commit. You are more likely to commit those atrocities. The same holds true for anyone who believes that they are above the law. If you think that you are not going to get caught and punished for crimes that you commit, you are more likely to commit those crimes. Now, atheists will say, "Oh no, I'm great. I would never do that." Sure, okay. There are plenty of people that would never do that, but some will. And nobody wants to take a chance putting somebody in office who is not accountable. It's like so rational. It's so logical. I don't understand. Their whole thing is God doesn't exist. So if God doesn't exist, then there is really nothing there. There's nothing holding you accountable. It doesn't change the fact that they believe in God and they do feel something is holding them accountable. Many of them do. It's hilarious.
More of that here in a moment. I don't want to mix words here. I do think the creation of that, the Congressional Free Thought Caucus, that is a victory, and having that there is awesome. Now, at present, literally 0 cents.
Yeah, they're courting the atheist vote. Good job. Like the atheists would ever vote Republican. Well, actually, the atheists might vote Republican. It's the anti-theists that I don't think are voting Republican anymore anytime soon. I think anti-theists really is. Well, I was going to say that anti-theist is a branch of SJW, but maybe not, because you have Amazing Atheist who's not an SJW, and he's definitely an anti-theist. So this idea, I mean, they've really fixated on this meme that religion turns good people into bad people, which is just wrong. I mean, and it's anti-evolution. It's completely against the evolutionary evidence.
Senators, Democrat or Republican, are a member of that caucus. In the House, there are 10 House members who are all of them Democrat, no Republicans. In a lot of ways, being a Republican atheist would be far worse for your political career than being a liberal atheist. But right now, empowered by the Trump White House, there's even a resurgence of religious...
You got to mention Trump in here. Because Trump is, he's so religious. He's like the paragon of religiosity.
Thought and religious laws coming about. At the local level, you have states this year literally trying to pass laws that take the phrase evolution out of science textbooks, wanting to teach the controversy in science, which doesn't exist. There is no...
I think the social justice warriors have all but taken evolution out of the textbooks with their whole gender politics nonsense. The idea that they don't believe in evolved sex differences pretty much just takes a big old dump all over evolution. So I wish it was different. I wish people were logical, rational beings, but one of the reasons why I'm responding to this video is because this video is so illogical and irrational.
Scientific controversy about evolution. You also just had Alabama and already 5 states prior to that pass laws requiring all public schools have "In God We Trust" on the building, as though it's some kind of magic safety spell that's going to do anything.
See, this is hilarious. This is hilarious because guess what? It is a magic safety spell. It is. People that believe in God, it's a little bit magic. It really is. They become more trustworthy. They've done tons of psychology experiments on this. Religion turns people into better people. It forms an in-group, out-group thing that can be dangerous. And I think atheists are good to point this out. But my problem is when you start demonizing people more than they're really demonizing you. I don't see a lot of religious people demonizing atheists. It's a huge difference between not wanting to vote for an atheist, not wanting to give an atheist power over you, and not... are they talking about rounding up atheists? I just don't see that. Maybe if they are, you could let me know, but it seems laughable. Forget that. You guys are high.
Expressions and outright expressions are at a peak. There have been many more decades past where religion was considered a private thing that was for yourself than now where you're either doing something religious publicly or protesting your right to do so. And yet there are those trying to draw correlations between gun crime and the lack of prayer in school. So are atheists being oppressed? I don't think there would be a clear and concise answer to it anyway. And honestly, of the oppressed minorities right now, I would not put the resolution of atheist oppression anywhere near the top, honestly. But atheists need to be included in conversations. Our government is a secular government. Our constitution is a secular constitution. And we need to be restoring those values because those values work for everyone.
What values? What are the values? If you're talking about secular values of logic, reason, and evidence, I'm with you 100%. I'm for those. But I don't see you using the logic I don't see you using logic, reason, and evidence. I see you just basically attacking religious people. The God and prayer in schools. I'm not in favor of prayer in schools, but citation needed on why you think the argument that they're making is a bad argument. I don't know the argument. You're just mentioning it offhanded, but.
Secular governments are great for religious entities, especially nowadays when there are so many religions. It doesn't put any individual form of Christianity above other forms of Christianity or any religion above any other. But most importantly, the baggage people are giving to atheists, that needs to be stripped away, and people need to be speaking realistically about this. But instead, you have these people that do influence social culture, saying these things that aren't even close to accurate. Here, for example, are some things Steve Harvey has publicly said. God?
Does he have a relationship with God? You sitting up here talking to a dude and he tells you he's an atheist, you need to pack it up and go home. You know, you talking to a person who don't believe in God, what's his moral barometer? Where is it at? It's nowhere.
That is such an absurd...
See, here he is. Steve Harvey's even saying it. Yeah, where's your... What authority gives your moral compass? What enforces it? What makes you... What is the mechanism that makes you behave in a certain way? The mechanism that makes religious people behave in a certain way is very logical. It's an exchange of goods. They're behaving in a certain way to reap the rewards of being good. What are you doing it for? Are you doing it for illogical reasons?
And frankly offensive thing to say, but it clearly comes from
Oh my God. Well, he's offended, so let's just pack it in. He's offended you. Why can't we have this conversation without you getting offended? What? Like there are a lot of people that don't commit crimes because there are police out there that will arrest them and incarcerate them. There is this idea that justice is served by God. When you don't believe in God, when you tell people there is no God, you're basically saying there is no mechanism for enforcement. You're saying, I'll be good, but I don't have to be good because there's no mechanism for enforcement. This is so logical. It's so logical.
Place of ignorance, which we'll actually speak to here more in a moment. But my moral...
he's the ignorant one. He's the ignorant one because he believes in God. Oh my goodness.
Barometer, I chose it after a lot of thought and reason and seeing arguments for the different ways you can live your life morally.
So because he selected it, because he selected his morals rationally and reasonably, even though there's no mechanism for him to enforce those morals. So if he decides one day, I changed my mind about this moral principle, so I'll change it. I think stealing from the government coffers is actually the right thing to do. This is why atheists don't hold public office, okay? Seriously.
And ultimately, because we have evolved such wonderful brains capable of this deep thought, we are equipped with the...
Oh my God. Oh my God. Do these people read anything? Do they read anything? Seriously.
ability to do that. But instead, you think you should surrender your morality to a book that was given to you? No one argues for that book. And that's the difference between your morality and mine. If some part of my moral system is wrong and a person asserts that, fine. As long as they can justify it and prove it wrong, I will adapt.
So yeah, you have to justify and prove it wrong, but you're under no obligation to show us evidence that how you maintain your ethical system, the force binding your ethical system. Where's your evidence?
Say the Bible is wrong, and your side says there's something inherently evil about me. You come from a very oppressed mind.
See, I'm not saying that he's inherently evil. I'm saying that humanity tends towards selfishness. They tend towards taking advantage of other people when they have the opportunity to. And what religion teaches us is that you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't take advantage of people. You should be kind to people. The memes in Christianity are about forgiveness, about helping people, about sacrificing for others. Those are very pro-social ideas. Now, without any mechanism, any reason, it's even in the word, without any reason to do that, humans would generally like to take advantage of other people for themselves. This is This seems logical. This seems rational to me. But Mr. Atheist over here thinks, oh, just people are normally, naturally good. Naturally. This is comedy.
Minority. You should be able to see the way your moral barometer, when given to somebody else, has oppressed.
What moral? This is funny. I shouldn't pause it here because he's just about ready to straw man the old Steve Harvey here.
People who look like you. But your Bible, your source of moral authority, it looks at slavery and says dope, where mine looks at slavery and says nope. Here's something else he had said.
Oh my God. I don't know any modern Christians that really endorse slavery. Although it's baffling to me. So yeah, slavery is in the Bible, but why don't you actually ask Steve Harvey his position on slavery? The idea behind God is it's a mechanism of accountability for being good. You have an all-powerful, all-seeing arbiter of justice, the perfect judge. So it makes perfect sense that you would not want to trust somebody that did not believe that this ultimate arbiter, this ultimate judge, this ultimate authority had authority over them. It's very logical. Come on, it's logical.
Said in an interview.
I talk to people all the time. I'm an atheist. I just walk away. I don't know what to say to you.
So this guy doesn't actually even know the other side. He only knows the side with which he was given, that he was born with, his religion. How can you claim to have the superior position or to know that these people...
He knows enough that there's no authority over you. I mean, and that's completely rational. It's completely reasonable. I mean, people generally don't trust strangers just willy-nilly. Does that seem weird or irrational? Does it seem irrational to trust strangers just without forethought?
People aren't worth a person's time, or to give people advice not to date someone they might be able to have a beautiful relationship with because they don't have your moral code. You don't know what our moral code is. You've just said you don't know what to...
Nobody knows what your moral code is, dude. That's the problem. That's very, very rational.
Say, so you just walk away. You even said you don't really know what an atheist is. So Joy tries to tell you. So here is Joy trying to tell you.
Well, an atheist is someone who doesn't quite believe that there is somebody out there, some God out there.
Well, then to me, you're an idiot.
Okay, well...
So I'm cool with that. I'm just probably not the right politically correct thing to say.
It's not that it's not the politically correct thing to say. It's that it's a non-defensible statement. You don't know the other side. You don't know why. I don't feel stupid for not believing.
It is kind of perfectly. It's actually perfectly acceptable. I mean, you're allowed to think people are idiots. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why you're getting all offended about it. He does know. He knows all of the things that I know that I'm talking about right now, which I mean is enough for him at least. I mean, I think it's interesting. The evangelical atheists, the anti-theists, lie on a spectrum from reasonable to completely irrational. And I mean, I've done streams with Shannon Q. I consider her pretty rational, pretty reasonable, pretty well-tempered. I've never, the more irrational ones who are very much looking at anti-theism as they're activists. They see religion as a mind virus, a toxic blight on society, and they're out to erase it. Good luck with that.
Believing in God. I also didn't feel stupid for believing in God. It is not the case that you must be an idiot to take one of those positions. But I know your side because I've been religious. You don't know mine.
But if you don't believe in God, I mean, really, you got to have an explanation for this. You just can't tell me this spun out of a gastrous ball.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then we were evolved from monkeys. Why we still got monkeys? It's too much open here. I just believe that. And if you don't believe that, then I don't like talking to you.
I say...
So he then sort of points to this idea that atheists have this scientific basis, and then he summarizes two big things, the Big Bang and evolution, in ways that are totally not compatible with science. Of course you think it's stupid if you think that it's just some big gaseous ball. If you don't actually understand what happened, and not just that, if you don't actually understand the theory behind the Big Bang and all of the predictive power it has had. And that's one of the beautiful things about science, the fact that when you make these hypotheses that eventually elevate to theories, you can use that to predict certain things. So they were able to predict background radiation and certain behaviors of gravity and black holes before actually discovering it, and then went and found them and validated those ideas. And anybody who's...
I'm going to make a moral psychology prediction right here that the atheists aren't going to be elected to public office anytime soon.
says, we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? Clearly has never made the most basic attempt to understand evolution. So
I should point out too also that he's just, I mean, he's doing the complete identity, common enemy identity politics here, because he's looking for a guy who is very anti-evolution. There are tons of religious people that believe in evolution. Catholics believe in evolution. So they're not all anti-science. And this guy is completely anti-science where it conflicts with his belief. He believes that religion is toxic, and I think the evidence is that religion is an evolved adaptation. I just read David Sloan Wilson's recent book, Does Altruism Exist? And man, he goes into detail into the math of altruism. So I really think the science is against the anti-theists here. And that's one of the things that bugs me most about these videos. It's just, all this is just, it's virtue signaling to people who don't like religion. That's all it is. And there's a lot of reasons why people don't like religion, but it's not pro-science. It's not pro-science. They want to march out Steve Harvey and say, look, this guy called you an idiot. Aren't you offended? Yeah, who cares? Who cares?
Let me be clear. We did not...
I don't want to play the victim here. Yeah, you do.
Evolved from modern day monkeys. Modern day monkeys and us have a common ancestor that is as silly and has the same meaning as saying monkeys evolved from humans. And the reason there are still monkeys is because monkeys are good at being monkeys. Evolution wasn't striving for humanity. And that is the arrogant...
Man, evolution lessons from these guys just totally bugs me. Totally bugs me. God, just...
so often these religious positions, because they cannot conceptualize anything where humans aren't at just the absolute top tier of everything. Evolution does...
These debates too, the debates really bug me too, because there are like two people who just don't understand one another arguing. So they never really progress. I mean, I was thinking of it through the metaphor of like the human body. Like there are groups of people that are very much like organs. They serve a certain purpose. And if you think of the whole body as like society, if you wanted every single cell in your body to be exactly the same, that wouldn't be a good body. You'd be some fungus. Okay. The beauty of our society is that we have like a science tribe, and we have a religious tribe, and we have a sports lovers tribe, and we have a movie lovers tribe. We have all these different tribes. We have this conservative tribe. We have this liberal tribe. All those different tribes are like organs in the body of society, and they serve different functions. The anti-theists, the atheists, the atheists are generally nonconformists, which I think is good. We need those people. But it's so sanctimonious. It's so self-righteous that it's like, I'm pro-evolution. These people are anti-evolution. That's what bugs me. They're anti-evolution. When your whole movement is anti-evolution, your whole idea that religion is a mind virus is anti-evolution. It bugs me. It bugs me bad. Man, I should put a trigger warning on this video.
Doesn't care if humans exist, and it wasn't aiming for humans, and humans aren't necessarily more evolved than monkeys. Monkeys are good at surviving. That's why they evolved to exist. Humans are good at surviving. That's why they evolved to exist, because the natural pressures that push down on them, they emerged from with the abilities to adapt and cope to those pressures. And to tell you the truth,
monkeys are actually better, I believe, at hand-eye coordination. They've done experiments where they've matched humans up against monkeys, and the monkeys are actually better at the hand-eye coordination stuff. They're also better at, our cooperation ability sort of is a detriment. When they play games, they can fixate on, the monkeys can zero in on equilibrium that humans don't necessarily zero in on, because the humans are interested in, they compete and cooperate at the same time. So they're always interested in somehow cooperating with another individual, where monkeys are like, no, I don't cooperate with anyone. What's best for me? So their brain has sort of evolved to be able to do this, and our brains have evolved to cooperate. But the ability of us to cooperate is our advantage, because teams will always outcompete individuals. But this is why religion is how people form teams. And even though you don't have God in your religion, there's an argument that you need something like God. Like, how do you bind your anti-theist organization? Like, how do you know people aren't going to screw you over for money? Like, the atheists always try to form these conferences and whatnot. I've seen, I don't know, like 3 or 4 try to get formed on YouTube, and they always seem to just fall apart. Somebody steals the money, someone runs away with the money, someone screws someone over, never happens. Like, I see these things all the time, right? These religious organizations, oh man, they have one a year. You don't even have to pay for them. They're like completely free. They go on for centuries. Yeah, that's teamwork.
Truth, I don't really mind when people don't believe in evolution. I mind when they profess proofs that it doesn't make any sense or that it's false, when they don't understand the very basics of it. The why are there still...
It's so offensive that some random American will express his opinion on television. Ugh, freedom be damned.
Monkey's question has literally never been a good one. And this is why society needs secular people and atheist people, because there is going to be religion getting in the way of fact. I'm not saying don't have religion.
Yeah, religion getting in the way of fact. Yes, that's what you're doing.
But at the level of society and government, we cannot have religious obstruction. So I hope for the day that I can run for office, maybe even a federal office, openly as an atheist. Full disclosure, we did have one openly atheist senator. He did lose his re-election after coming out as an atheist. However, it wouldn't be fair of me to say that was because he was an atheist. While I can't say it didn't play a part, it seems unlikely that it did.
We don't know. Maybe it did. You can't trust him, right? You can't, like, even in court, it's like, here's the Bible, come swear on the Bible. They're like, I don't believe it. Okay, well, I guess you're just going to lie in here. I want to know. Give me some ideas in the comments below. What is the mechanism for them to be good? Like, what is the credible threat of force? Okay. Nuclear weapons did a huge service in civilizing the world because it was such a credible threat of force. All of a sudden, if you went to war, we could annihilate the entire planet. So people started thinking twice about going to war. Before it was like, we'll go to war. A bunch of the lower class people will die. we're in charge. We're the upper class. We're the authority in society. So, who cares? Then all of a sudden, credible threat of force comes into being, and now, I might get hurt, so let's not do that. God is just a credible threat of force. And I understand you don't believe in God. It's not a credible threat of force for you. But that is the logical, rational reason why people don't trust you, why people don't want you in office.
I don't know. If anyone knows Steve Harvey, tell him he can come on anytime and discuss this. But it's honestly sad to me to see people, especially from communities that religion is so ingrained, come in and help empower those communities against things that are absolute facts. I don't care if you're white, black, Republican, liberal. When I hear anti-science things come out of your mouth, if you have a large public platform and you are going to spew these absolutely anti-scientific ideas, then I have a big problem with you, especially if you...
He's like speaking my language here. This is why I don't like the anti-theists. They are anti-science. This is exactly what you're doing, Mr. Atheist. You're the one spewing anti-science nonsense.
Your justification seems to just come from musings. Total non-understanding of the...
Its justifications just come from musings. Where do your justifications come from? You're saying your morality comes from logic, reason, and evidence. You sat down and you thought it up, and it all works in your mind. How do we know? How do we know that it's acceptable in our minds? It's completely rational.
Those things you are claiming to refute. But Steve, at the end of the day, at least you and I can both agree that your mustache game goes unchallenged. It is top tier.
Well, yeah, we can agree there. Steve's got a great mustache.
For Dear Mr. Atheist, thank you so much for watching. Hey, follow the secret link of the day below. I keep forgetting.
Don't check out the secret link. This guy's nah. He's just out there just talking about his feelings, talking about his hurt anti-theist feelings. So that was a fascinating video. I hope that I shed some light on my thinking on these anti-theists. I bet I really didn't shed any light. I think I probably just said the same things you were thinking, but I voiced it for you. That's what I did. So let me know in the comments below if I didn't voice it for you, if you completely disagree with me, and maybe we can get some good arguments going, because that's what I like to see in my comment section. I like to see people beating up on each other. Take care, everyone.
Well, first of all, if you don't have a purpose, it isn't that your life becomes neutral in a meaningless sense. It's that your life becomes characterized by unbearable suffering. Because the baseline condition of life is something like unbearable suffering.